Well, where do I begin? I'm a super senior at a state university. I am majoring in secondary ed and English writing. I was living at my mother's place while finishing up my final credit during the fall semester. She lives an hour and a half away from my university, so the drive every week was not the most enjoyable, but I managed. When not in school, I spend my summers hopping music festivals and just trying to get the most that I can out of life. I am pretty well experienced in every form of mind alternates. I have eaten 14 hits of good LSD in one night, smoked nuggets daily, and have dined on enough mushrooms to visualize God. All this along with getting too deep into certain substances I'm not proud to have indulged in. Well, enough background, now on to this story. It was Halloween '07 and I was up at school for my one class of the week. I'm finishing a single credit course. This guy that's a few years younger than me briefly told me that he had some doses of 2C-B. Being the psychonaut that I am, I was all about dosing on some 2C-B for Halloween. Now about the kid I was getting this from, I wouldn't really consider this guy a friend. He's always been more along the lines of an acquaintance. In the past I have helped him out with 2CI, so I figured he knew enough that the substance would be of good quality and properly dosed. After a lot of running around and waiting, he finally told me to meet him on campus and we would trade some nuggets from me for some 2C-B from him. He hooked me up with 2 small tinfoil folds that each contained a trace amount of powder. He told me that it was 30 milligrams apiece, and that his hookup has tried it, although he didn't as of then. I asked how the guy consumed his dose and he said his hookup insufflated 1 packet, and all the guy proceeded to do was go wow, wow, wow. Good enough for me. I was going to stay in my college town and party for Halloween, but all my close friends had class the next day and were waiting for the weekend to party. So I decided to head home. I was 1 hour into my hour-and-a-half drive home, and I made one of the dumbest mistakes anyone who knows anything about psychedelics could make. I decided I would insufflate one of the doses, and with this rationale I would make it home right as the dose was kicking in. Ha! I am a fucking idiot. Erowid note: driving while intoxicated, tripping, or extremely sleep-deprived is dangerous and irresponsible because it endangers other people. Don't do it. I sniffed the minuscule amount of powder, thinking I was strong enough to handle anything this little packet of powder could put out. First off, this shit burns really, really bad. About 10 minutes later I started talking to myself, trying to talk myself down. Then another 10 minutes later, I could no longer see the damn road. I knew I fucked up. I made it past one town, and it was another 15 minutes to my mom's house. And it just kept getting more intense. I don't know if the 2CI I had previously was not dosed as strong, or if 2C-B is just more intense. I soon realized if I didn't pull over, I was going to kill someone, or kill myself. So I went to pull over and stop, while I hit the brakes, and the road kept coming 60 miles per hour. I couldn't tell if I was in the road or off the road. I tried to open the door and I couldn't find the door handle. I tried rolling down the windows, I felt a cold breeze, but the window wasn't open. So I sat there, foot on the brake, freaking out. I tried to dial my ex-girlfriend's number, and my mom's number because I knew this was not going to end in a good way. But I couldn't see my phone, let alone dial the people I love. So I sat, and waited. I still had another dose on me, and it was dark in the car. I was trying to put it in my sock, but ultimately failed. I was also trying to grab my hash and nuggets in the console to stash those as well, but I couldn't open the fucking console. I kept seeing flashes, but then they would go away. My voice was echoing when I talked to myself. I felt on the verge of a psychedelic breakdown. After sitting there for who knows how long, I finally heard someone say, "Are you alright?" But it was echoing, so I didn't know if it was real. I looked out the window and seen a guy standing there, but he looked haphazard like he crawled out of a car accident. Oh fuck, I hit someone. I felt for my seatbelt and sure enough, I was hanging upside down from the ceiling of the car. I hit someone. Oh god, what the hell have I done? Was all I could think. I looked out the window again, and the guy was gone. Again, I have no idea how much time lapsed, but eventually I seen some blue and red flashes, and even in my precarious mind state, I had an idea those flashes were the real thing. I looked out the window, and there was this boy dressed as a cop. It was after all, Halloween. I went to roll down the window, and he screams, "Put your hands on the wheel." I don't know exactly what I did, but I was looking down the barrel of this boy cop's gun. Needless to say, that scared the shit out of me. Again, I don't know what happened, or how much time passed, but an ambulance came, and even with me helping, no one could open the door to the car. It was at this point I realized I was sitting upright, and I must not have got in a car accident. When they got me out of the car, I kept saying something about how I needed to call my mom and my ex and how my phone wasn't working. Apparently I was sitting in the middle of highway, with all the windows rolled down, except for the driver's window, and my foot on the brake, despite the fact I turned the car off. It was about 30 degrees out, and I was only wearing a t-shirt. So, they load me into the ambulance, and I just keep saying how something is not right. The first thing they ask is if I took any narcotics. Well, of course I lied. They finally get me to the local hospital. I see the boy cop again and realize he is an actual cop, and not dressed up for Halloween. They put in me, and take my blood to analyze it. By this point I'm looking out the door to the ER and I see my kid sister, and I can see she has been crying. I felt like a real fucking asshole at that point. I couldn't see my mom though, which kind of weirded me out. Then I realized I was looking right at my mom, but I could barely recognize her. I was tripping really hard. Before I dosed on this shit, I was under the impression it was likey with a slight LSD kick to it. They ended up finding my glass bowl I bought at my first Bonnaroo, but they didn't say anything about the hash or the nuggets. I still don't know if that shit is still in the car, or if the cops just took it without much fuss. They did a CAT scan and the boy cop shows up again and tells me they found my bowl, and that I wouldn't get charged for it. He didn't say anything about the other dose of 2C-B or about the hash/herb. Eventually they get my drug screen back and they find benzos in my system. I'm prescribed to Xanax, and they of course found pot. Well, boy cop has an idea that Xanax and grass don't make you act or say some of the shit I was popping off with. I wouldn't talk, and they couldn't find what I took that made me obviously lose my fucking mind. So again, I have no idea how much time lapsed. But eventually my mom left, and they put me in a gown. There was one point that I want to tell about, where they needed some urine from me. Not being much of an exhibitionist, I couldn't pee. I think the hospital thought I was trying to mess with the urine or something in the bathroom, so they sent this bald guy in with me, to hold my hospital gown up while I took a leak. I could tell he was kind of embarrassed, and being in my mind state, I made some smart-ass comment about how fun his job must be. Well, he quipped back with, "It's either this, or we put a catheter in your urethra." Eventually, I was able to pee. Well, I somehow passed out and woke up at 5 a.m., still feeling a little off, but much more in touch with reality. Something was in my sock itching my leg. I reached in, and there was my other dose of 2C-B. I was glad the cops didn't find it, and I actually thought of eating it to destroy the evidence. Looking back now, I am glad I choose not to. That morning, they let me out of the hospital at around 10 a.m. The cops and doctors knew something more than grass was making me lose it, but they couldn't prove anything. It's nice 2C-B can easily be tested for. Now, I am sitting in my mom's computer room typing this. I decided enough was enough, and I talked to mom about all the rumors she has been hearing since I began college about myself dealing, or simply doing drugs. I guess you can't live forever. Needless to say, after not touching anything for even this short week, my head is much clearer. Will I trip again? Probably. Will I ever dose again while driving? Never. Now that I told a shortened version of the events of Halloween '07, I will talk about dosing. Apparently a heavy 2C-B trip when insufflated is 7 to 10 milligrams. My doses were 30 milligrams and meant to be eaten. Lesson learned. Looking back now, I am simply glad I didn't hurt anyone, or kill myself. I am also somewhat happy I am not the first guy arrested for 2C-B in my mother's small town community. Could this have ended better? Yes. But could it have ended much worse? For sure.